About a month and a half ago, somebody in my network reached out to me because they had an open workshop slot at a show at the Javits Center in New York City. And they were looking for somebody to fill it that could talk about digital marketing for self-care business owners, think like hair salon stylists, things of that nature, and giving them tips to be able to grow their business. And in the moment, there were two thoughts that came to my mind. Number one is I know that I can help these people. I know that I can give tremendous value and share things that will truly help them grow their business, which gives a trickle effect to everything else in their life. But the second fear that I had was, well, what if nobody shows up and I'm speaking in front of 4 people? What if I mess up? What if everyone thinks I'm a fraud? What if the information I share is not new to them and they're not interested? All of these thoughts went through my head because at the time I had very little public speaking experience. Now I've done Zoom calls, I've done social media content, but the idea of standing in front of 100 to 150 human beings and talking to them felt crazy scary to me. And when I looked up the actual statistics, about 75% of Americans say that they have a fear of public speaking. And it's actually been coined as a term called glossophobia, which until that time when I actually started diving in, I didn't even know existed. And I am not a public speaking professional at this point. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I know that there's other people that were like me 3.5 months ago who maybe you've been invited to, speak. Maybe it's just at the company you work for. Maybe it's in front of a smaller group of people. Maybe it's in front of thousands of people that you were invited to speak in front of, and you're just feeling fearful about it. I want to share a couple of things that worked for me as I was preparing for it, and it ended up going massively successful. People had a great response, and all of the fears that I had weren't real, but I do want to share some of the things that I did to get through this. So the number one was know your audience. I knew going there that these were people who were in the self-care industry that desperately needed more clients, more leads, and they wanted to become more famous in their local community. So anything that I could do for them, what they were coming to the presentation for was marketing ideas that they could execute on. However, it was apparent that they didn't have huge thousands and thousands of dollars of marketing budget. And B, they didn't have a ton of time because with this audience, they're spending a lot of the time behind the chair as a stylist, and the idea of spending 4 or 5 hours a day marketing their business wasn't viable. So I had to come up with ideas that made sense to them. So the first thing that I always want to know when I'm doing a public speaking appearance, and you should too, is why is your audience there? What do they want to hear? And also number 3, fill yourself with gratefulness that these people are spending 60 minutes of their time or so with you, learning from you. By going in there with just that gratefulness and feeling of connection with the audience, it made me speak more naturally and less scripted and like I'm putting on a show, but more so that I'm just connecting with each one of them individually, no matter where they're at in their walk of life. Number 2 is prepare. This is a huge one that I can't stress enough. And a couple of things that worked for me is number 1, know your material inside and out. What I recommend is when you're preparing your talk, what I did is I actually put my PowerPoint slides up on the TV in my living room. I stood in front of the TV and looked out, and I actually spoke through my entire presentation. Because what oftentimes happens is when you're preparing, you're kind of practicing it in your head, but then when you're actually standing there giving it out to people, it comes out differently. So I always recommend A, know your exact talking points in your agenda for the talk, and then B, practice it and actually speak it out loud with the TV, and maybe even have your significant other, your family, your friends, your coworkers, even have them in the audience sitting there and ask them to give you feedback. Or if they can't give you feedback, then actually set up a recording and record yourself and then watch it back to see, did I say too many times? Did I where did I potentially lose focus, things of that nature, and then you can get better and better and do that multiple times leading up to the presentation. Okay, so those the big one, and practicing inside out, knowing the content. When you go in feeling prepared, you're naturally going to come off as more confident. Number 3 is embrace the nerves and fear. Listen, if you're going to be public speaking for the first time, it's natural that you're going to be going there probably pretty fearful of what's to happen. But what I did that really worked for me was, when you're standing up there and people are coming in and you're thinking about your opening line and you're feeling that fear, say to yourself, hey, fear, I know you're there. I know you're trying to protect me. I know that, you have my best intentions in mind, but I'm good. I got this. I prepared. The audience needs this. So thank you for being there, but I'm going to do it anyway. And it's almost like you're talking to your fear. Number 3 is embrace the nerves and fear. For me, when I walked into there and, people were starting to come in and I was thinking about my opening line and I'm just like getting the technology, that's when all of that adrenaline and fear can be rushing through you. And what worked for me was just say to yourself, hey, fear, I know that you're there. I know that you're trying to protect me. I know that you have my best interest in mind. I get it, but I'm good. I'm prepared. This audience needs this. And I'm going to crush this presentation. So although I know you're going to stay there, I'm good and you can go for now. And I got this. So the point is saying that the fear is going to be there no matter what. So prepare for it, but be also prepared to tell yourself, hey, fear, I got this. I'm good. Thank you. Number 4 is tell stories. Okay. When you're going to be presenting to people, tell personal stories of real things that happened through you. Because when it comes to effective public speaking and what worked for me is I started my talk by actually telling a story about how in my own business, how I was fearful of marketing. I was fearful of spending money on marketing. I was fearful of advertising and telling that progression there. And then through the talk, think of different areas where you can tell a story that is about yourself. That might have been about a client, a customer, maybe a family member or a friend, or maybe just a story that you read online. Become a storyteller and insert them into your talk. So the 4 big things. So for a recap, number 1, know your audience. Number 2, prepare and practice and record yourself. Number 3, embrace the nerves and the fear. And number 4 is become a kick-ass storyteller. If you can do these 4 things, I am so confident that you're going to absolutely nail your upcoming talk and you're going to deliver an incredible piece of information and content to your audience. So I hope you have a great rest of your day and I will talk to all of you soon.